Okay, so I was on TikTok last night and I came to a realization. None of us are seeing eye to eye. I mean, we all see things from a different perspective, a different point of view. So, I'm listening to a group chat on TikTok. They are kind of protesting the FBA protests against African stores, which I've seen one Asian dude say that yes, this is really happening. Outside of that, I haven't heard too much about it. Someone got mad and said they were going to, and that was never actually a thing. But that's neither here nor there. My normal disclaimer would be if the shoe fits, wear it, and if not, be quiet and not so nice terms. However, this shoe fits everybody. Fits everybody differently, but it fits everybody. So, just hear me out. FBAs are not a cult. We are a people who has been lied to, as all people have been lied to. We do not hate Africans. We would not be ashamed to be African. In fact, I know for a good chunk of us, we'd be glad to know that we were from Africa brought here on a slave ship, because at least then we'd know. It's not digging, it's not uncovering, it's not seeking, there's a sense of knowing. And that's something that a lot of us have lacked for a very long time. It took a lot of digging. And it makes perfect sense. So apparently, I feel like Africans think that we hate them and that we think less of them. And that's not the case. I think that every melanated person on the face of the earth knows where the motherland is, or knows that Africa is the motherland. And we've been saying the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. We know that in between African and Ethiopian countries were some of the most wealthiest kings in the entire history of the whole world. Not to mention smartest and most advanced. The reason the world doesn't have that depiction now is for the same reason the world depicts most everything. And that's colonization. That's a lie. That's the burning of books, the burning of truths, the burning of history so that it could be rewritten. So that we could start a brainwashing process globally. A lot of melanated people feel like we're cornered. It's not that we dislike any ethnic group. It's almost so it's a secondary emotion. When someone is hurt, a lot of times that's the primary emotion, is sorrow or pain. But it comes out as a secondary emotion, which the world sees as anger or dislike or bitterness or whatever the case may be. However, we fought for rights. We fought for equality. Before colonization, there were not these lines drawn in the sand. In fact, slavery started here last out of the whole slave trade and was here for the least amount of time in the first place. Like, that is what everybody is focused on, but there's a bigger picture here, okay? Prior to slavery, there was a trade route from the mainland Africa to the mainland America. And it was not just melanated people here trading back and forth. The people here, melanated, although became natives in their tribes, which there were many tribes. Ultimately, our ancestors are from Africa. However, because when the plates split, so did the lands. Yes, Africa's the motherland, which is why we didn't need maps to go ahead and start this trade route. And once they found out about the trade route, shit hit the fan. And we became enemies. Why? Because we became enemies of thine self. Because they taught us to hate ourselves. And it's not just black people or FBAs or Africans or Israelites, or it's worldwide. Like, they have a pattern. If we look at the history that they will admit out loud, which we all know is not a whole lot, they at least gave us that much. They burned libraries in Ethiopia. They burned libraries and stole knowledge and traditions every continent they visited, and then discovered the New World or the New Americas or whatever. However, I have my opinions on how they got their maps. I'll leave it to myself. The point is, people were people. There weren't lines in the sand. We have our tribe here, we have our tribe here, they had their tribe there, they had their tribe there. We went back and forth, shipped, sailed, explored, had riches, golds, pyramids. Just, who could want more? Who could need more? Yes, we had slavery in the sense of, like, I pay you X amount of golden coins a week or a month so you can feed your family. And after 7 years, you can either continue or move on. With the exception of a war criminal or a war capture, there wasn't any type of, like, slavery in the sense of how we think of it now. Every ethnic group has had some type of rewriting of history. I am saddened that only one region of ethnic peoples has had a full ancestral erasure. As far as knowledge, wisdom, traditions, names, origins, just everybody got to hold on to a piece of their oral history at the very least. Language, at the very least. Except for one region of one ethnic group. And seems how we, had been doing our thing here. Yes, from Africa prior to the slave trade, bringing goods back and forth from the homeland, from the motherland, yes, Africa, from hundreds of years before fucking slave trade. So to be cut off like that, mixed in, like, with whatever nonsense they had going on, whatever fucking darkness that colonization brought with us, to fight to get up out of that, despite our ancestors' fears in telling us to not and to just comply, we couldn't. And eventually we did. The civil rights, which means now everybody gets to come. And the one people it feels like that is still looked down upon is us. We don't hate anybody, but if I can speak up, it does feel like every group of people that comes here dislikes us or just kind of goes with the narrative that was given to us by the same people that took any bit of knowledge, of history, of ancestral truth, of tradition, of origin, of language, of name, of identity, of self or self-worth, by the people who stole that are the same ones who get to create the narrative of us today. And so when we go in the store, we're looked at on cameras, like watched extra carefully because, black people, loud, obnoxious, poor, thieving, ghetto, whatever you want to say. Did you know that there's way less of us on food stamps than there are of white people? Did you know that most random violent crimes actually are committed by white people? And that's not including the police brutality, which now other groups are starting to experience. Welcome to our world. Like we've been fighting for our life, even still, like from the time they got here and brought colonization and started their plan to today. We're fighting for the ability just to be able to move through our life and know that we're going to be okay. We're not going to die on the side of the road because our headlights are off in the middle of the day. Like, and so to know that that's what we're dealing with every day, still today. And yes, it stems from the whole slavery thing, because whether you were brought here on a slave ship or whether you were already here, it doesn't matter. If you were too dark to fit the narrative, you weren't allowed to speak your truth, period. You were not allowed to say whether you were here, staying here in this tribe or not, unless you want to get hung because you're black, which means you're Negro, which means now that's what we all learn in school today. But Africa, one of the richest, most wisest countries, they went there to learn and study. And then burned all of the libraries and said that they brought the word civil into today's civilization. Come on, why are we all falling for the okey doke? Why have none of us picked up on the patterns? Hold on. This all white town, not only do you have to be all white with your roots traceable back to Europe, but you can only be Christian. Only Christian. They're not anti-Jew. They are only Christian. Why? Because that's the European religion. That is the religion that the Europeans made. They took truths from other religions and cultures and twisted it up and meshed it into one and picked the least empowering name and made that dang near a global religion. And they were the last ones on the map. Like, they're new here, like within the last 10,000 years. What are we doing? Why are we acting like sheep led astray? And it's not just FBAs. It's not. We've all been lied to, tricked, lied on, and manipulated. I'm tired. I'm tired of hate. We're not hateful people, but we sure do take a lot of it profiling. We take a lot of it. We teach our kids how to handle it, like from a very young age, just naturally. Like that's not new, and yeah, it's yeah. um, so to go into a Chinese store and then all of a sudden Mama San is following you, and yes, I said Mama San because been around the way time or two around these parts. Now Mama San following you because she think you gonna steal something. Because how could you have a wad of money in your bar in your purse? What? Like why? Cause I'm brown. Maybe if it wasn't for us over here as dirt beneath y'all's feet, like petty, broke, thieving mother suckers. If it wasn't for us, bottom of the barrel, whatever you want to call us, individuals, none of you individually would be here today, including the Native Americans. Can I say none of them are Native Americans? Like, are the original Native Americans of this land? No, because we had lighter people down here and we had lighter people up here. And again, there were no lines in the sand. Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, California, all of that was Mexican tribes. Well, and I hate these terms like Mexican, like white, black, Puerto Rican. Why, like, see, the colonization shit runs so deep. It's really irritating. But we had lighter people down there. And that, yes, that all of those states that I named are actually Mexico, for real. For real. So for anybody talking shit about them protesting in California, they are literally in the same boat. Like, their shit was stole, and then the perpetrators get to dictate everything: who, what, when, where, why, and how you can shit, piss, or pee. Like, by your captors. And again, it's not just territorial. It's not just racial. It's not just political. It's not even just financial. It's deep in almost everything that we watch and see, hear, listen to on the radio. Main producers, like production companies, and I mean, it's just everywhere. Like, they have literally poisoned every aspect in which our minds teethe, down to our history books and what we're allowed to teach and learn in school, especially if it's a public school. We got to figure out how to spread love again. I'm not saying, oh, look, there's a lot of hurt, okay? If there was another protest tomorrow to help another ethnic group, I have to say, I probably wouldn't be there because I have 4 kids. I work 11 hours a day. I am getting ready to graduate with my bachelor's, starting a business, designing shoes and purses, writing my second book, trying to get that published, all at the same time. Why? Because no matter what they do or try to take away, my kids will have the opportunity, at least close to the same opportunities that they've got passed it down for years to years, that we've had to fight for, that we're still fighting for. And I'm going to be that change, no matter how this plays out. Because I'm a mom first, before I'm anything. Because we've fought. I've opened, in fact, there's a scar on my head. I usually try to cover it up with makeup prior to getting on here. But I'm going to go ahead and be even more vulnerable than I already am here for a second. There's a scar on my forehead. I don't know, somewhere right here or something. These this couple didn't have anywhere to go. I'm not gonna say anything about the couple or describe them in any way, shape, or form because it's irrelevant. Opened up my home. Figured it was safe. Mm. I will say this: they're melanated people and not African immigrants in any way, shape, or form. Might I add, what nowadays you would call a FBA. Bottom line, they're melanated. Why did these motherfuckers jump me in my house repeatedly, slicing my head open with a knife while my kids are next door asleep? Because I decided enough is enough and maybe it's time you all leave. Like, so if that's what I took then, and then I stayed to myself with just me and my kids, and then every job I go to, everywhere I go to shop, everywhere, from everybody, regardless of whether they're melanated or not, get dang near the same thing. Like, you're following me around the store. Like, it's just so obvious. It's so blatant and it's so obvious and it's hurtful. We don't hate nobody, but it's hurtful because we go through enough within ourselves, within the digging, within the um, rooting and grounding of spirit, because we have to over time, because our whole identity they tried to swipe like completely away off the face of the planet. In fact, to this day, we're still legally 3/4 of a human being by law. Wouldn't you be tired too? Just asking. We don't hate anybody like at all. We're just tired. Like, and then everybody, because things are so damaged, people see these things almost the same way, like, but from their perspective, because of war, because of poverty in countries. But here's the thing though, like, another thing, and again, I'm not saying nothing about nobody. However, we don't feel like, oh, you should just fix the problems in your own country, but we're not doing the same. Like, not only can we not be deported anywhere, but we're not going anywhere, because how are we gonna go somewhere else and have an atmosphere and a community that is loving and great if we cannot weed out all of the things that are opposite here at our house? So if my house is dirty, I could move and it might be clean for a minute, but it's still gonna be dirty until I figure out how to get it together. So we're here and we're not going anywhere. We gonna get it together. And we're not saying everybody else needs to get out if you want to stay cool, but help us get it together instead of helping them keep us on half a leg to stand on, watching us struggle to succeed. And if you guys haven't noticed, the determination is deep. Lawyers, judges, mayors, like, we don't give up very easily despite the narrative that we still overstand. So if you're gonna be here, let's like really for real spread understanding, a willingness to listen to each other, a willingness to listen to other perspectives. That includes us, because in that chat the other last night, I'm trying to get my point across, and they ain't hearing me, and I ain't hearing them, and I caught myself and realized no understanding will come from this. So I went ahead and just stepped back and listened for a minute so I could hear the grievances. Africans, we don't dislike you. We don't hate you. We just feel hated and singled out. It's exhausting. Kids want to come home talking a mess and acting a fool, and we got to be so, oh, so very careful of every single thing we do, down to spank our kid, because they send them white people quick, fast, and in a hurry. Dividing us is the main mission. And instead of looking at that and noticing that or acknowledging that, it's like everybody just goes with it. Oh, they deserve it. But it wouldn't be cool if we said, you deserve this shit. Who does? We're spiritual beings. Fuck these lines in the sand, this country, that border. No, we're spiritual beings, which means why would you even limit yourself or bound yourself in that way to begin with, you guys? Come on. There's no time or space. Get free. Stop listening to them. Let's undo some colonization, because that is whack and destructive for everybody globally. I'm sick of it. I hope, even if y'all think that this is delusional, I hope it at least plants a seed in y'all's mind to read, study, dig a little deeper. There's tons of pyramids here buried under years, hundreds of years of piled up sand and but that shouldn't be surprising, because if they could bury a whole town, city under a lake, like within a matter of X amount of years, if they had 100 times that amount of years, why don't you think they could hide the pyramids? In fact, there's some of them they couldn't hide. It's called the Grand Canyon. A very, 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 like, I haven't seen military bases in the United States with as much shit and protection as the forbidden areas of the Grand Canyon, like ground sensors and everything. They don't play. That truth, the hieroglyphics, they'll kill before they let that get out. You'd have much better luck walking onto a military base. Seriously. Let's stop buying into the bullshit, guys, please. Here's another thing. This whole shit going on in Gaza, mm-mm, not cool. And we're too busy within our own selves and with our own little, what we see in front of our face. Oh, it's because the black people this, it's because the Africans this, it's because the Mexicans this. No, what are we doing as we are paying to annihilate all of the Palestinians in Gaza right now? We're literally paying for a mass genocide. What you would think is in a history book from Hitler, it's happening right now, today, in Gaza, and we are the ones funding it, the American people. Can we pull our head out of our ass for long enough to see a bigger picture here? Is it like I'm lost. The Democrats and the Republicans, they all go eat lunch together with the other world leaders and leaders of other continents that are horrible individuals who I hesitate to even call human. Like, it is them against us, Democrat, Republican. That is all a smokescreen. They are all pushing for the same thing. I'm gonna wrap it up with this. Once I took the time to listen to the young men over there in Africa, and like, why, I don't know if they're in Africa or if they're just African, I'm not gonna lie. But once I heard them out and actually responded to what they were saying, and with not hate and with love and with giving props, because I'm not against being African American. In fact, I grew up thinking that my ancestors were brought here on a slave ship, because that's what they teach us in school. If you are black or melanated, and you're not an African immigrant, then that means you're from a plantation, pretty much. And it took me 35 years to learn the truth. I went my whole life thinking that the narrative that they are saying is true. So why would I be like, I had 35 years to embrace that truth? I'm not against that truth, except for that it's not a truth. Most of the black Americans or FBAs were already here. Not to say that our ancestors are not African. Yes, Africa is the motherland, but we had been here for hundreds of years, going back and forth, trading, bringing goods back and forth from our motherland until they fucking got a hold of the maps. And pulled some bullshit and turned everybody against each other, switched up the narrative like they had been doing, setting up to do already, burning libraries in Ethiopia and stuff. Like, let's look at really the history here and the evidence as a whole, not just pick and choose, because both sides are right. Neither side is wrong. Yes, we have African ancestors, and yes, we are indigenous to this land. Our ancestors were not brought here on slave ships. In fact, the least amount of slavery came to here from Africa. Yet, we have the largest amount of black or African Americans or African, whatever, like more than Brazil, more than the Caribbean. Like, we have the most black people, yet there were the least amount brought here. Yeah, cool beans. Wait, let them walk away before you open the door. On that note, oh wait, let me just finish that thought real quick. Hold on, baby. Anyways, so I heard their grievances. I broke it down in a way that relates to everybody, and brought in like where I'm coming from on this, because I don't care what the colonizers say. I don't want to go to church. I don't want to be force fed the religion that they force fed us, because in Africa or here or native, like, it don't matter. I don't care where you coming from, unless it is Britain, Rome, Europe, unless you that there them there, we weren't Christians. We weren't praying to a Jesus. We had our spiritual connection to the earth and to the universe, because that God is within in every molecule of us, and we know that. We try to throw it into this Christian religion, and God lives in your heart, but we know, because at the end of the day, if every molecule of you is something, are you not that something? So until we come to this awakening, like, and really become a collective conscious, we're gonna be imprisoned by this colonialism and stuff. Like, anyways, the point is, by the time I left that chat room, they were speaking love, like, out of understanding, out of a willingness to hear each other, out of a willingness to trade information, experiences, things that we've been told, things that have been passed down to us from oral history. And to see that room go from um, straight division to unity amongst these young men was a beautiful thing. Beautiful thing. Until some lady came in there who really sounded more like she was from Britain. But again, we got people all shades everywhere. Like, that whole thing is ridiculous. Anyway, she came in talking about FBAs. They hate Africans. They hate Africans. What are you talking about, bro? Like, please, don't come in and undo the narrative that, or undo the truth that we're trying to unnarrize. Please, everybody comes in and just undoes the work that we just did. Like, why? Stop. Stop. We ain't never wanted no war. Ever. Ever. And we ain't never settled to being pushed into a tiny corner of our home either. I wish That I didn't mean that in a vindictive way, but honestly, while everybody is so blind around here, why would we fight for freedom and then be okay with being restricted to a few acres of our land? Hell no, we gonna wage war every year, year after year, till the shit change. Y'all funny. Y'all is funny. And to the young man, the young melanated FBA man on TikTok talking about the 706 law. First of all, that was 706. It was well after they had already had plenty years to get their story straight, and let's not act like that's not what they do. Okay? Second of all, why would they write in that law that officially, if you did not claim or accept Christianity, whether you were Indian or Negro, you could be enslaved? But all of the Native American Indians were okay with accepting Christianity, so they weren't enslaved. So you mean white people came over here and told them, you're going to accept our religion or you're going to be enslaved? And they just said, okay, we accept it. Good, now go over there to that plot of land out of our way. That's how it played out? That's what you all trying to tell me? Or the people were like, no, we not gonna just bow down like that, and ended up enslaved. And then, civil rights and all that, like, we don't want to seem like martyrers here, so let's find some people we can call native. Hurry up. Shit, they're already Christians anyways. Teach them the language, and that way we're putting the resources right back into us. No, why would anybody do that? Especially, the ones that burnt down entire fucking cities and libraries to keep the truth a big fat secret. You right. I'm crazy. Mm-mm-mm.